Fantastic. So it is going to be ET versus Mr. Kim Kong with Mr. Kim Kong inviting. So that's going to be fantastic. We're going to go ahead and spectate Mr. Kim Kong to start us out here. And best of luck to both of our opponents. Mr. Kim Kong has been fragging as of late with a particularly devastating team. Definitely a slower fare, but certainly very resilient in the way that it winds up bringing things around. It's been a staple of 𝗃𝗃 play at this moment in time. Although, you know, he could throw something wild at the wall for us. Speaking of wild and at the wall, ET is known for none other than exactly that at basically every instance of his life. So, without further ado, let's get stuck into our first match here. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Quite an indomitable team. So, Mr. Kim Kong, as you can see here, has a variety of doom win conditions on the table. He's also rocking the fat 𝗃𝗏, known for basically being able to sit around and not have its stats be lowered at all, meaning it's a fantastic bearer of buffs. And on top of that, it has Diamond Fort, which allows it to get very well set up as well. Unless you actually bear a reset, then half the resets in the game, of course, are weak to 𝗃𝗏. You're in a rough time. Meanwhile, ET is coming at us with a delightful sort of mixed composition right here. We can see the 𝗃𝗽𝗽s, we see the 𝗬𝗏𝗃, which does leave it very ambiguous as to what trait that 𝗬𝗏𝗃 is. It could be both, ladies and gentlemen. There are a lot of fast things on ET's squad, but it's not set in stone which ones those might be. 𝗏𝗏𝗃 is, of course, there as well, which is another pretty powerful tool into a lot of compositions at this moment in time, and is a bearer black hole with, of course, 2 Earth synergies there. We do see the 𝗧𝗲𝗺 get banned first, though, as it is often a very strong tool into these kinds of slow teams, given it has a massive amount of scaling with heat up, and some very strong stabs to boot, and, of course, Contagious, which just constantly generates value. So, meanwhile, getting into this, we're going to see what ET's banning out as well. He winds up just going straight for the Keanu. Makes a lot of sense into teams like this. You want to stop them from getting a lot of their buffs out of hand. Oftentimes, these are benefactor Keanus these days as well, which can be very powerful indeed. So, with that, this leaves Kim Kong on blue side, deciding the first pick here. One of the upsides of having blue side with this kind of a team is that ET has to be careful not to be too reliant on trades here. It's unlikely that he will be. He's rocking the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 himself, but it's the kind of thing that you want to be wary of when you are going into this, because, like, Kim Kong could just slam that dinosaur and suddenly you're in a more awkward position than you previously were. So, still, we've got a lot of people just sort of checking things over at this moment in time. Although I will note that that reserve timer is going down. Okay, so, sorry, got a little distracted there for a hot second. So we do see the 𝗵𝗏𝗃 get picked up first here, with goo and a variety of other tools at its disposal, like high special attack. It's got a lot to work well here. A combination of 𝗵𝗏𝗃 and a fire type could be very strong into this opening board here. Not a lot of ways to deal with that on Kim Kong's side, and actually we do see that ET has gone straight for the dino himself, and that is going to mean that a lot of potentially strong early picks will lose some of their actual value as a result of this. 𝗃𝗃𝗃, of course, won't wind up triggering. Cold-blooded being off is not too much of an issue, but we do see Kim Kong go for the Yowler, making sure to get that picked early so it does not get dropped into the second ban there, which is an often very, very good second ban. So we see the pig get banned out instead. So that is 2 of the strongest buffers on Kim Kong's team banned out. We do still have, of course, a Digi-Threat synergy for 𝗏𝗏𝗃. We also still have the Diamond Fort and the Stonewall on 𝗁𝗁. So there are still a lot of buffs available for Kim Kong, but that is all of his reserve time gone as well. So this does mean he's going to need to be careful about how he uses the remainder of his time if there's something awkward in this draft. But that said, honestly, he's not going to be looking too bad here. I think the roughest thing is, like, potentially just bringing the 𝗏𝗵𝗶 in here at all, but honestly, the 𝗏𝗏𝗶 giving him Digi-Threat synergy means it's still pretty viable and pretty effective. So, jumping back over here, as I said, the 𝗧𝗵𝗵, I like it. It can't be reset, which is one fantastic thing. When the black hole is potentially there, honestly, both of these could have black hole. You don't see it often on 𝗬𝗽𝗽s, but it's still pretty reasonable to run. Winding up picking the 2-vine makes a lot of sense, just covering the last 2 spots there. It's very strong into basically everything but the front line. Even the roller, it doesn't really object to, especially once it gets that diamond fort running. And with that, we do see the 𝗧𝗵𝗵 does get picked in the end there. Whether that was intentional or not, we'll have to wind up seeing as we get in to the next 𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏, yes, I'm sticking with that word. Anyways, getting into this, our match 1 of this 2v2. So we see 𝗵𝗃 out here with the 𝗂𝗀𝗇𝗺 versus 𝗬𝗃 with the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 roller here. Sorry, the 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗶 here, which is pretty fun sort of opposition to this. It actually hits into the not 𝗬𝗨 spot very effectively here. Awkward as to whether you want to actually commit to that or not. You do have a black hole in the back if you can confirm that you don't just melt to it. And hi there, 𝗬𝗨, glad to have you with us. Yeah, no, as you may see in the title there, this is a 2v2x2 part 1. So specifically, what all those qualifiers mean is that we will have 2 opponents facing off against each other today for an aggregate score that will be combined with their next matchup later on down the line. So we should have some fun here, complicated as it may be. Speaking of complicated, honestly, I'm pretty sure this Corrin just has to dab, but it's very easy for it to do so. 𝗲𝗵𝗶 is pretty hard to punish on this board, and you can almost immediately get your Doom set up, which is pretty impressive here. Unless this is Talisman 𝗬𝗏𝗃, which is as of yet unscouted. I don't believe we've seen the Frightening either. Oh no, we would have seen Frightening. 𝗵𝗶𝗶 would not have gotten his fake beard, so it's very clearly 𝗬𝗏𝗃. So as a result of that, you know, it's unlikely to have its talisman. Usually Frightening tends to be the one that bears talisman, because then they stop the talismans on the other side and anything else that could get in the way of those finicky little Doom win conditions that we do see people running. So, as expected, we do see the Corrin dips here, as the 𝗲𝗵𝗶 does hop in to that spot. And the Rotten Goo is going to be landing on the 𝗬𝗨, negating its nut bar. As a result of that, that does mean that's a lot of value that goes over to 𝗬𝗃 inside this. This is a lot of opportunity for him to just start hitting that. He does go for the Sharp Leaf into 𝗲𝗵𝗶s anyways. A lot more 𝗬𝗏𝗃s carrying Sharp Leaf these days. It's a small tool, but it's, you know, you got to get yourself up and running in that first turn is often the way. And it's still very good into the Gyarios that are still plaguing this meta. So with that, the 𝗲𝗵𝗶s is, of course, out here and angry. I would be very cautious of the 𝗧𝗵𝗵 coming in to enable the Digi-Thread. I do not believe 𝗬𝗃 has any way of isolating here, so that does mean that there is always going to be the hanging concern of how you get around that Doom if you're attempting to work around it or if you're just trying to push through it, which can be a difficult proposition if 𝗵𝗃 has his correct members up. Still, though, as we've seen here in both draft and on the board, 𝗵𝗃 has been pushed into a position where he has very few buffing options. Now, 𝗲𝗵𝗶s has block. Unless this has massively changed since last I've seen it. You know, you got block 𝗲𝗵𝗶s. Potentially toughen 𝗬𝗨. I don't believe this is toughen 𝗬𝗨, but I do know that that is run on some variants. There's a lot of self-buffing in here as well, just to make sure you really ball out of control. But, it's always something to be a bit wary of. But if 𝗬𝗃 can actually push through this, just like go for the fat aquatic whirlwind into the 𝗬𝗨, followed by like additional pressure there, or rather into the 𝗧𝗵𝗵 that's coming in, because yes, it is coming in, folks. And it does look like this is the Digi-Thread turn. Now, 𝗧𝗵𝗵 is known for having a high special defense, and that is coming into play right now. We see the Digi-Thread landing in on the 𝗬𝗏𝗃, a pretty common state of affairs there. Rather than work on whittling down its monstrous health bar, why not just knock it down the sneaky way and take it down with a good bit of Doom? It's a pretty strong strat, and it's one of the reasons why 𝗲𝗵𝗶s has been such a perilous threat into a lot of these teams. once again, you know, dark isolation. It's one of those things that can help inside this scenario, but it's very hard to have that available for a team. Also, as you can see there, it's very hard just saying, I don't want to, I want to just let 𝗧𝗵𝗶 through. That's not something you can always accommodate. Still, though, we are now in a position where there's 2 turns for ET to potentially get rid of 𝗬𝗺 or get value out of 𝗬𝗺. Now, 𝗬𝗺 is often the Diablo bearer, so this could be the case on ET's side. And thank you so much for the raid, 8-Bitten. Glad to have you with us. I hope that your stream was working well and that you had a fun time. We are here in the 2v2 ×2 part 1 here, as we are going to see ET versus 𝗵𝗃 right now, coming in for our first setup here. We do see the full defensive action as we see the Sharp Rain landing on moments, outspeeding the block, which wouldn't have really done much in there anyways, and the Bamboozle is going to stop the outgrowth, which does mean that unfortunately the 𝗬𝗺 is not going to be able to land that juicy final bit there, but the Refurbished does get blocked. The 𝗬𝗺's Diablo goes off. This is still a very strong combination of moves that went off towards ET, despite the fact that 𝗵𝗃 did a good job weathering it. Like, you're not buffing your special defense, which what the 𝗵𝗺 is hitting you with. The 𝗬𝗺 is still able to, alongside the 𝗵𝗺, do a kind of a wombo combo that no Tem on that spot really wants to take. And additionally, the moments is still in check here. You may be losing the 𝗬𝗺 on ET's side, but like you're gonna lose the moments this turn unless it swaps. So that means it has to go into 2-Vine, which is taking a Flaming Meteorite and an Aquatic Whirlwind to the face. Not gonna happen. Goes into 𝗂𝗻 instead. I was just gonna go through the options there, but then 𝗵𝗃 does me the kindness of already swapping, as we do see the Aquatic Whirlwind slamming into that, getting it below half, but goes back up with the Nut Bar. The 𝗵𝗺 does get hypnoed, but it's too late for it to wind up doing what it wants to do. We see it is a Zen 𝗵𝗺, folks. That is the first wild card that we've really seen here in terms of that. The Nut Bar does bring it back up to 25%, as the Doom will be taking down the 𝗬𝗺 just as it starts to run out of stamina. This is actually still a pretty reasonable swapping point for ET, as this does mean he can now start bringing in like that 𝗂𝗀𝗆 and really threatening this board. There is a show off on 𝗂𝗻 at this moment in time, though. So it is likely going to be fragging pretty hard here. Hey, there's a 𝗧𝗵𝗆 as well. That's a face I haven't seen in a long time. Glad to have you with us, 𝗧𝗵𝗆. As you can see here, 𝗵𝗃 is honestly still in a pretty significant position, but it's the HP totals here are awkward, and the absence of turns available to buff are pretty significant. Additionally here, the 𝗵𝗺 being a special attacker is really throwing a wrench in 𝗵𝗃's works. It is a lot easier to defensively scale than it is to defensively scale than it is to special defensively scale, unless you're just deadass running 𝗬𝗏. And this is something that ET is taking advantage of with this 𝗵𝗺 here. No other Tem on his team is more intimidating than this. With the block, with the potential for a Diamond Fork, there's a lot of different things that can be done on the side of 𝗵𝗃 to limit the amount of physical protection, like sort of attack that ETE is bringing out here. But you know, not the case with 𝗵𝗺. He's just gonna Aquatic Whirlwind you in the face, and that'll still hit moments pretty hard. Even though it does have a pretty significant special defense, I'm just not sure if it's enough. Still though, that's not on the board at the moment, and additionally, the 𝗵𝗺 is asleep. Honestly, that's not a bad thing, because this means that now there's an opportunity for the Rolder to potentially come in, meaning that we get the Sparkling Bullet with synergy onto 𝗬𝗵𝗶, which is guaranteed to just, you know, sever it from this plane of existence, while also bringing in the Rolder. But the question you have to then ask is, you know, is there a 2-Vine coming in on that spot? Do you really keep the 𝗬𝗵𝗶 in here when you're predicting that kind of damage? Do you eat that on 2-Vine? Well, the answer to the final question is probably yes, because 2-Vine has a monolithic defense stat. We know that 𝗵𝗃 has been putting a lot of chonk on these Tems. With that, we do see the 𝗵𝗺 is bouncing. 𝗂𝗀𝗆 is hopping in instead of the Rolder, so we're keeping things a bit on our toes here. We do see the 𝗬𝗵𝗆 is leaving, though. Is it for the 2-Vine? No, it's for the Corrin, folks. So with that, we do see that it's well-tuned to eating that Sparkling Bullet. Barely takes 8% from that. We see the 𝗂𝗻 is going to start getting back up and into action there with its first Hibernate. That, like, I should put a little counter on the side there for how many Hibernates we wind up seeing here. Sorry, I had something stuck in my teeth there. Just finished eating lunch before I did this. So, 𝗏𝗏𝗺, out here, slugging with the best of them. Only 1 speed up, so that means it will be taking a drop if it wants to bounce here. But honestly, I'm looking at this 𝗂𝗀, and I'm thinking, are you sure you're good here, buddy? A combination of suplex and stone ball is absolutely going to frag anything that is on ET's board right now. So this is something that he needs to be wary of. But, the 𝗧𝗲𝗺𝗫 and, like, Black Hole will do just as much. And that is precisely what we are seeing here, folks. We see the 𝗧𝗲𝗺𝗫 land into 𝗂𝗀 as hard as possible, getting that diffuser on there. We do see the skull helmet, though, so that's no scavenger there. As, the Black Hole comes in as well just to attempt to finish this job, but skull helmet is actually going to happen again there, and is going to remove the seized to boot. The Savage Suplex will be landing in on 𝗂𝗀𝗇. It's likely this is going to be a double hit. At least there's no Scavenger HP coming back there, but that is still a valuable Tem in ET's arsenal, gone and forgotten, with nary a KO to its name. So with that, we can see that despite being in a position where, you know, he's like a little awkward, there's not as much recovery as he would want, there's not as many buffs as he would like, Kim Kong is able to, like, get ground back. Now, the downside to KOing that 𝗂𝗀𝗇 is the fact that now, not only is there a 𝗵𝗔 on the board that's going to come in, but there's also still this 𝗏𝗏𝗺. And 𝗂𝗀 is the best tool to get rid of the 𝗏𝗏𝗺 that there is. Alongside 𝗂𝗏𝗺, both of which really don't like facing a 𝗵𝗔. Yes, the 𝗂𝗏𝗺 can feather gat it, but I'm pretty sure that 𝗂𝗏𝗺 is not going to be able to 2KO this 𝗵𝗔 unless it's literally made of paper. It's possible it's made of paper, but the question then is, like, is that counterbalanced by the absence of investment into 𝗂𝗏𝗺, which does not have the most swole attack stat in the world? We'll have to see when the time comes here. I don't expect a full HP Tem to eat this swap. Either Kim Kong keeps the 𝗂𝗀𝗺 in to eat this damage, or he swaps in 𝗧𝗵𝗵 as death fodder, given the fact that it's unlikely there's going to be another one. Kind of an awkward bit here. So we're gonna have to see how this goes. We do see the Pizza Blast is gonna go in on the Yeller, get some chip on there, make sure it's still down low. We see the Goo's gonna come in on it as well, actually, as the 𝗂𝗀𝗺 is left unprotected. Like unattacked, as it's going to stonewall the Yeller. Ah, there we are. So that was the read instead. Making sure that the Yeller was, like, not at a high amount of HP when it was going to get attacked there. Sorry, when it was going to get buffed there. Because now with the +3 and +1 there, it's a lot harder for ET to necessarily get that same amount of damage there. So, getting back into things, there is also still the Black Hole available. My concern at this point, though, is that the prime tool for dealing with 𝗂𝗏𝗺, that also still kind of dies to 𝗂𝗏𝗺, has taken chip. This is awkward. This leaves solely 𝗨𝗨 to deal with 𝗂𝗏𝗺, and if 𝗂𝗏𝗺 has the time to diamond for it, then that is a very grim prospect indeed. We see the Yeller swaps out, we see the 𝗵𝗵𝗺 is going to be hitting the floor again. So, with that, we're going to see the Rusher get triggered on that side. We see the Aquatic Whirlwind land in on 𝗂𝗀𝗺 real quick. Might have wanted to... We see that is how that's gone down. We see the Black Hole has landed in on the 𝗵𝗵𝗺s as well. Is that actually going to kill the 𝗵𝗵𝗺s at all? Because that's a +4 defense on the 𝗵𝗵𝗺s thanks to that block. No, it's going to bring it down to 16.3%, which means that now the 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗵 is available to re-enter. And on top of that... Oh, no, never mind. It's 𝗂𝗏𝗺. So, with 𝗂𝗏𝗺 around, one of the things we have to ask here is this a suicide charge into Piezoelectric Blow from 𝗏𝗏𝗺? I'm pretty sure the Piezoelectric Blow requires one more turn to get online, but the 𝗨𝗨 coming in here could still be very valuable. The question is that more valuable than just going for the glory right now and trying to get a good tsunami in with 𝗵𝗵𝗺s? The answer is 𝗏𝗏𝗺 is dabbing. So, 𝗨𝗨 hitting that spot instead, ready to eat that CPG. Was this read correctly? We see a Toxin Shower come out from 𝗵𝗵𝗺s, keeping it alive, and doing a bit of chip to 𝗂𝗏𝗺 while not killing the 𝗵𝗵𝗺s. It's a secure position, though, and it does keep the 𝗵𝗵𝗶 protected, as the 𝗵𝗵𝗶 will revit itself, getting itself back up to 21%, and the Feather Gatling does barely any stamina, takes barely any stamina off of the 𝗬𝗏𝗏, with the combination of Vigorized, and what I can only assume is a very chunky, survivable, stout spread. Like, that's clearly some good stamina investment in there, alongside the Vigorized, which is, of course, having the stamina costs. Because that's 91% there. That's still very significant. I believe that also means that is... No. That's not receptive. That's still determined. For a second, I was like, wait, is that receptive as well? And I'm like, no, that can't be. We do see that the 𝗬𝗏𝗏 is going to immediately get attacked. The Sharp Rain coming in and doing what it needs to do quickly. You've got to make sure that you hit 𝗬𝗏𝗏 before it goes and, like, enters the Shadow Realm. So we see the Roller gets blapped with a Plasma Beam. That's going to stymie the aggression of its Drill Impact, which is unfortunate. The 𝗬𝗏𝗏 is sitting at 20%, however. Not a lot of HP in there. Can 𝗏𝗏𝗏 clean up from here? It is an awkward prospect. We have Goring and Sparkling Bullet ready to get levied at this 𝗬𝗏𝗏. There's no way that we can see 𝗬𝗏𝗏 come in for the Digi-Threat on 𝗵𝗵𝗏s without it just immediately entering the Shadow Realm. Any swaps will speed up the 𝗏𝗏𝗏. This is as good a point as ET can have against this kind of team. Being able to hammer the 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and make sure it gets low before it has time to buff. Being able to make, like, you'll notice how much preemptive attacking ET has done to make sure that Kim Kong is not in a position where he can sit back and set up. This is the important thing to bear in mind here. Now, hopefully, with all these dominoes knocked up, ET can knock him down. Kim Kong is just hoping that doesn't happen and can weather into this. If the stamina gets too low on ET's side, Kim Kong has time to sit back, set up, and make sure he can actually weather this storm. It's a tough one to see. We see the Sparkling Bullet lands in on the 𝗵𝗵𝗏s instead. The Goring lands in on the 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Is it enough? It is enough to take down the 𝗬𝗏𝗏. We see a Revitalize again on the 𝗵𝗏𝗏s, just once again, these little attacks in there trying to keep it down. So with the 𝗬𝗏𝗏 down, that's one more clear and important threat gone on Kim Kong's side. That was going to instantly just eviscerate the 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Now it's going to be a lot harder for Kim Kong to make sure that he's in this game. Can the 𝗵𝗵𝗏s laser down the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in time? Can it wind up finding any way to get its special attack online? Actually, wait, that doesn't matter anymore because we're just down to the 2 physical attackers here, which does make ET's job harder. Tardy Rush, however, is activated at this point. That is another attacking boost. It also means that it's going to be rocket. It's got rocket boots now. The combination of those are pretty important. And boy, this has been a pinwheel of a match. Despite being able to stabilize throughout the mid game, ET has just clawed his way into the into a better position than Kim Kong has managed here. We see the Digi-Threat turn has come out here. Sparkling Bullet is going to land in on 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and stop it from getting in. So that Digi-Threat does not go off. We see the 𝗵𝗵𝗏s is going to get hit by a Held Anger here on top of everything else, and it's just once again hit after hit after hit. The Digi-Threat does come off because it had to be a Digi-Threat that turn. It was going to be the only way to get back into the game. Admittedly, not the easiest option for it, but you know, it's what Kim Kong had available to him. At this point, the Yowler needs to be able to survive the next hit, but the problem is we do have, alongside everything else, a neutral priority black hole at +4 speed that is going to outpace anything else this Yowler does and remove every stat buff that it has aggregated so far. It's a very awkward position for Kim Kong at this time. So, from here, yeah, it's hard for me to find a position for Kim Kong to come back. I think that it was the 𝗬𝗏𝗏 turn that really changed it, but it's still a wild one watching these kinds of matches. You'll see how much forethought had to happen on ET's side here. A lot of light hits that just wound up amounting to chip over a period of time, getting into this point where he could win against Kim Kong, taking down the Great Wall. Well played to ET, and that is 1 point to our shoot coins. I do expect Dirk to run a very different team here. Dirk tends to run a lot of like fast to mid-fast Tems. The amazing Mudrid named Get Dirked comes to mind. alongside the general Deluge synergies that we tend to see on that side. They are in. Let's go. One sec. Let me make sure I've actually saved the scoreboard there. There we go. That should be up now. Fantastic. And here we are, and as anticipated, 𝗏 is running a faster team. We do see Get Ďrked there, the glorious 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗴. We see a Gallus, we see a Kiinu, we see a Rolder. It's it's mid to high speed aggression on this side. Of course, 𝗂𝘀𝗏𝗏 being very strong indeed. We've also got 𝗂𝘀𝗶₴ in there as well. 𝗂𝘁𝗏 enables a lot of very strong early game positions. You've got 𝗏𝗏𝗺, another very strong one in there. Kiinu means that you have redundancy for the Deluge. It's a well-constructed team. Meanwhile, of course, at this point, we've seen some of the mechanisms that ET has at his disposal here. It's going to be a fun back and forth. The Tyrannac actually could be very valuable this match. We see the Rolder has been banned out instead, so, well, that's just how it be. Rolder, of course, gained a lot of value in the end game last match, so that is how it's got to be. So, getting into this, ET here is going to wind... Now, looking at what ET wants to ban, I think the Kiinu is still a very strong choice here. Another viable alternative, looking at how many things are in fact weak to Earth and Crystal, is just getting rid of that Mudrid. Mudrid's actually very strong into this. So, with that... Yeah, no, I mean, oh, no, it's a Gentleman's Rolder ban. Okay, it's still a strong Earth that would absolutely frag, so I completely respect that. That's pretty understandable there. The Mudrid also dies to getting punched in the face, and ET has brought fists to a fist fight here. We do have Earths in the form of Ďrkash. We have a water that can absolutely blast it as well and is on a similar speed tier to it. And of course we have 𝗂𝗀𝗆, who, if it gets a lucky hit off, like, yeah, that Oshidashi will absolutely send it to, like, another dimension. I just don't know whether that's going to wind up happening there. It's an awkward thing to allow Ďrk to still have in the form of Deluge as well. But it is what it is. So, getting into this, we see 𝗏𝗏𝗏 on one side. We see a 𝗂𝗀𝗆 on the other side. ET immediately bringing that 𝗂𝗀𝗆 out there. It helps that the main things, thanks to the fact that the Rolder isn't there, that can fight the 𝗂𝗀𝗆 are weak to 𝗂𝗀𝗆, which is always the way it winds up being. We see the Ďrkash as well here. So, rather than ban out the Mudrid, instead it's ban out the Rolder and scare the bejesus out of the Mudrid in the opening picks. Makes a lot of sense here. You gotta have stones to bring in the Mudrid here, or you're immediately swapping it. And that is what Ďrk is doing. He's calling the bluff and is going, yeah, sure, you don't want me to pick my Mudrid? I'm gonna pick my Mudrid then. Which is still very strong into the entirety of ET's team. It's got Crystal for the Minotaur, although Crystal Dust is one of the few things you can tech for Minotaur to live, although it's a very rough calc. It just runs Ripshot over, like, roughly half of ET's lineup. But it's happened. We see the Gallus is the second ban there. We see the Minotaur is actually the second ban on Ďrk's side, making sure that Mudrid doesn't have too much else to do on this particular battlefield here. We see Valorend is picked up as our third on Ďrk's side. Still looking very strong there. Very good answer to the bottom three remaining Tems on ET's side. If 𝗂𝗀𝗆 is knocked out here, it's going to be very hard for ET to take down that Valorend, depending on what trait it is. We see 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Platymus picked up on ET's side. Still some pretty good stuff there. Obviously, Platymus is still gonna be very intimidating into this matchup. It's very good defensively into basically everything not named Valorend or 𝗏𝗏𝗏, now that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 has come out here. Although 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a bit more vulnerable to some return fire from that. 𝗂𝘀𝗏 rounds off Ďrk's lineup with Kiinu not even being brought. Bit too fast-paced a game for Kiinu is what this is looking like it's going to turn into. Unlike the last one, which was a steady chiseling away at 𝗵𝗂𝗃, this game is looking like it's going to turn into one gigantic shootout. With some very quick gains on either sides. It's definitely looking like a very standoffish opener here, as Tyrannac will round out our matchup here, and we get into our game 2, folks. Let's have fun with it. So, as we've established here, we have Mudrid 𝗏𝗏𝗏 on one side. That's the illustrious Get Ďrked here. We see Ďrkash and 𝗂𝗄𝗆 on the other side here, and we are into the thick of it. Obviously, at this point, a Soil Steam will ruin 𝗂𝗄𝗆, but the question is, do you get that Soil Steam off? The answer is probably, actually. I do think that genuinely the 𝗂𝗄𝗆 has to swap here. It cannot outspeed it cannot outspeed Get Dirked unless you're doing something else to edit the speed tiers here. I don't recall ET having Whip or any other way to speed up 𝗂𝗄𝗆 immediately, so I would not take this trade and immediately just pivot to 𝗵𝗵𝗶 or Tyrannac, which are more capable of taking these hits and stop you from like taking a big fat Soil Steam to the face on the Tem that is very strong into the entire back line here. Meanwhile, 𝗵𝗵𝗶 can actually still kind of have fun on this board, and 𝗧𝗵𝗃 is just vibing. 𝗧𝗃 is somewhat superfluous. It's really only good into this board, so it's likely to stay here instead. Meanwhile, knowing this, Dirk might actually just focus the 𝗧𝗃, but that's the mind game of this, right? If Dirk ignores the 𝗂𝗄𝗆 slot and 𝗂𝗄𝗆 actually just like clicks uppercut, then Mudred's just gone for nothing. You have to at least Soil Steam that spot, and 𝗧𝗃 can't really hit 𝗧𝗃, which leaves 𝗧𝗃 in a position where it can actually influence this board pretty comfortably, hitting into either of these Tems. Now, we have not seen a fake beard on either of these Tems. I expect that means that we have a nutrition bar on 𝗧𝗃. Oftentimes, that's how it winds up working. We haven't seen a marbles on either of them either, although we did see it on 𝗧𝗃 there, which means no iron coating on 𝗧𝗃. Fun little item choice right there. So with that, we will see the 𝗂𝗄𝗆 is indeed bouncing, as you've got to respect the fact that that Soil Steam will absolutely frag you. We do see the 𝗵𝗵𝗶 hop in there on the side of ET, so that's a pretty good thing to see there. We actually do see the 𝗧𝗃 has bounced as well, hopping into the Valoran, anticipating the 𝗵𝗵𝗶 swap, which makes a lot of sense here, as the Fiery Soul will actually land in on Get Dirked rather than, say, a Mud Shot. We see that this is a resistant Mudred, which makes sense given the fact that we did not see a fake beard. Usually that's the case if we did, and iron coating is revealed. With that, we are on to our second turn. Aquatic Whirlwind will still absolutely torment Get Dirked here. You cannot just casually keep the Mudred in at this point unless you are going for the Deluge play. I don't think you can go for the Deluge play for a variety of reasons. First off, 𝗧𝗃 is on the board, which somewhat precludes the concept of a sleep win condition here. It's another good reason to pick it into these kinds of matchups, and it's a remarkable bit of utility it has in an environment where sleep is becoming more relevant. So outside of that, I mean, you could just casually swap 𝗂𝗏 here and it's fine. Like it eats a toxin shower and doesn't like it, but then you're scaring the bejesus out of 𝗧𝗃 and you're starting to get things back on the board here. Toxic Plume does nothing in this scenario for Dirk, so it's unlikely that we'll see that this turn. But you know, there's this funny move called Feather Gatling that I'm fairly certain will deal damage to 𝗵𝗵𝗆. If this is the special variety, then it's likely we'll just see a Cold Breeze instead. I believe that's usually how like your aerobic Valorens operate. But we'll have to see how that works out. So, outside of that, the next question is, do you even keep the 𝗧𝗃 in here? Like, you could Mud Shower that spot, but literally everything not named 𝗧𝗃 that can swap into that doesn't care about either of your stabs as 𝗧𝗃. So, instead, swapping to, I don't know, Tyrannac on one of these spots to try to negate this Valoran scaling is entirely what we see. We see 𝗵𝗵𝗆 swap into Tyrannac to negate the scaling there, as we see a Crystal Dust, as Get Dirked actually does stay in and hits that spot there, and we immediately see a HKS instead just going straight for the jugular, as that will bring Tyrannac down to 58% there. We do see the Hellfire come back as a result of this. That will still put a burn on Get Dirked, getting it down to 13% there. Oh, Intimidator means it's actually 2 burn ticks, of course! The Wombo combo there means that the Resistant is not going to get the value that you want it to get here, and it's going to put Get Dirked even lower. If ET has Rush on his 𝗧𝗃, then that's a really good position for him. Because after another burn tick, there is no way that a low HP total Tem that is often not spec'd in a bulky fashion, that's just a really strong thing there. And as 𝗧𝗵𝗆 said, yeah, that also stopped the aerobic from Philo there. That's kind of a blessing and a curse, because it does mean it's also going to be harder to take down as a result of that. The minus special defense is a nice little double edge to that sword, but you know, not getting more damage on your your hyperkinetic strike is a really important thing, and I'm glad that that's happening there. So, looking into the rest of this, this is a more valuable Toxic Plume's turn, but I don't think you survive to do that. I think you absolutely have to swap 𝗂𝗏 on Get Dirked, despite the fact that it would be really cool if you didn't have to. Dirk, like, can't really afford to drop the Mudrid here, even though you could just get a juicy Soil Steam off here and try to really punish this 𝗬𝗏, you can't really afford it. Yeah, we see Get Dirked swap out. It is in fact for the 𝗧𝗏 instead, though. 𝗂𝗏 not hitting this board, as Tracy's out instead. We see Philo hop out as well, though, as the 𝗂𝗏 will be hitting that side, as it is in fact a double swap. 𝗂𝗏 is a very strong board state here, as we will see the Fire Tornado land in on the 𝗂𝗏 there, which will eat it like a champ, only down to 68% after that, and a Marbles hit. We see the Meteor Swarm hopping in as well there, getting a good bit of burn onto the 𝗂𝗏, which is actually a very important thing there. 𝗧𝗃, I still don't like its odds of surviving that. That does mean that the 𝗧𝗏 that's going to rotate in, or the Platymus that's going to rotate in, has a lot better chance of actually living the attacks off of this 𝗂𝗏. Unless this is just a double in on 𝗬𝗏, which is another thing that makes a lot of sense. Like, 𝗬𝗏 is a big, juicy target. It has not procced its Diablo yet. So being able to get it down there is a pretty good time, you know? So, from here, what are we looking at? I do believe that Platymus is probably the easiest thing to bring back into this board. It only has so much value, and hitting 𝗧𝗏 very hard is one of those points of value. And that is precisely what we see come back in on ET's side. Getting that Aquatic Whirlwind off into the 𝗧𝗏 spot and being able to chain that with like some other good hits could be a really nice thing there. We actually do see the 𝗬𝗏 bounce as well, making sure that it doesn't just go down to a combination of hits, as we see the 𝗧𝗏 come in on that side. We do see that that is Marbles 𝗂𝗏 as well. Quite a nice little thing there, as the Water Cannon will be coming in there, getting it down to 65%. It's a Wastewater as well. It was a double on the Knack. That's down to 47%. That absolutely would have killed Knack before it got that juicy Diabolo off. So, yeah, no, good swap on ET. That does mean I believe there is, like, literally a Intimidator turn left. It might already be out by now. No, we just hit turn 5. So that means there's one turn left that he can just, like, bring in whenever he wants. So, also well-timed on the subject of that. Actually, I believe since Diablo didn't go off yet, that means there's more than just that. There's, like, 3 turns or something like that. My goodness. The miracles of single-digit counting, folks. I really got to keep a sheet or something like that for these. But, alas, here we are. So, 𝗏𝗏𝗃 is lurking in the back, waiting for a lot of these to get fragged, but the problem is, ET's never going to bring out the 𝗂𝗍 until the 𝗏𝗏𝗃 appears, and that's by design. If ET can keep that matchup in the back, it's a very strong thing for him. He's gotten Get Dirked down enough that, like, it's going to be very difficult for Get Dirked to, like, outspeed the Hasty Lunge that absolutely can still kill it. We see an Aquatic Whirlwind onto the 𝗧𝗏. That is enough to just nuke the 𝗧𝗏 from orbit. Is there going to be an appropriate counterbalance here? And the combination of Toxic Farewell and the Toxin Shower is going to be the reprisal that we're looking for. That becomes a even trade, and 𝗧𝗏 is going to lose a lot of stamina, clicking a Wastewater into an evasion there. This is a good point for either the Valorant or the 𝗏𝗏𝗃 to return to the board, though, but this is also a really good opportunity for this 𝗂𝗍 to start wreaking actual havoc. I guess you could still see the 𝗧𝗃 come in here instead, actually, because the 𝗂𝗏's gone. So, like, you could just frag with 𝗧𝗃 for a bit. That also makes sense. I think that actually feels a bit better, because you really want to keep the 𝗂𝗍 for when all of its threats are gone. Not so, says ET, however, as he immediately goes into that bad boy and is ready to just lunge his opponents into the dust. Now, Get Dirked is likely still going to be fast as ball, so unless this is a max speed 𝗂𝗍, it's going to have a hard time keeping up with this, even with the Prio, because Crystal Dust is a very powerful little move in terms of going fast and hitting. Unless this is great bait, it is possible that this is, in fact, just a swap into 𝗬𝗏𝗃 here, but the Aquatic Whirlwind could be the other element of this hammer here. I'm not entirely sure what play ET is going for there. This is a bit of an ambiguous board. Meanwhile, Dirk, this could also kind of be a bait on that side, but like my problem is that like Hasty Lunch just hits that side. We do see that this was bait on 𝗂𝗬𝗃, as it is in fact 𝗧𝗃𝗃 waiting for that delicious crystal dust to hit it. As Dirk is in fact going to bring in the 𝗃𝗁𝗃, anticipating this to be the case and ready to get that delicious synergy off for 𝗏𝗏𝗏 alongside everything else there. We actually see the Crystal Deluge come in onto Platypus. Now, this is a Zen Platypus, as we've seen before, but it is also Sentinel 𝗧𝗃𝗃, so it does not give two hoots about this. That's why that rotation was so good, folks. And that does mean that now the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is gone. Long live the 𝗏𝗏𝗏. There's really only the 𝗧𝗏𝗏 left, stopping the 𝗂𝗬𝗃 from actually just tearing this board to pieces. Unless we see a very good like gamma burst into a like accidental swap, but like the easiest way to avoid that with ET is just bring it in on a death. So with that, we do see Philo, or Philo, I don't know how he's pronouncing this. I don't know if it's referencing the pastry or not. Return to the field here, and HKS on the Platypus is still quite a juicy target. And that's also exactly the kind of thing you would do if you wanted to bait out a 𝗂𝗬𝗃 to resist the swap in. I don't think ET's taken that bait, but I do think that a Tyrannac rotation in here for another Hellfire is a fantastic play from ET's side. It's clear now that Dirk is in a pretty awkward position at this point in time, but we'll have to see how this goes, as the Hellfire is going to come crashing in to this spot again. That's some significant damage to the Valorend, and on top of that, the 𝗃𝗁𝗃 is going to take burns as well. We see a turbo choreography come out from the other side, though, and a blizzard, an honest-to-goodness blizzard onto the 𝗧𝗃𝗃, which is able to eat that comfortably through a variety of means. First off, the burns lowering that damage massively. Second off, 𝗧𝗃𝗃 has pretty good special defense. And yeah, Pixel, this has been a fantastic 𝗧𝗃𝗃 game. I think this helps highlight how strong a partnership Tyrannac and 𝗧𝗃𝗃 can be. In the right hands. It can be very effective. So, not a strong position for Dirk, but you know, we do have a very powerful HKS ready to get clicked that's going to tear something to pieces. That alongside the Tornado is pretty nice. You can't bring 𝗧𝗏𝗏, I mean, never mind, you can bring 𝗧𝗏𝗏 in, I guess, especially if you're saving the Valorend, but like, we got earth damage in here. You're not hitting things too hard. It's just a bit rough is all. So with that, we do see the Fire Tornado land in on the 𝗃𝗁𝗃. And it's going to be going down to burn, folks. This means that this is the best time for it to get its Gamma Burst off. Oh, no, sorry. It already wound up using its Tornado. What am I talking about? It's just going to die to the Meteors as the Fiery Onslaught here is going to be just slamming into that. And I agree, Alex. 𝗧𝗃𝗃 is honestly just a good Tem. So with that, we do see the marbles value return to play here, as Philo is stuck at 5.8%. And at this point, ET can just play this as a numbers game. With only 2 Tems left and the HP differential being embarrassing, I don't see many ways for Dirk to get another point out of this one. So that's a strong set right there, as things are very quickly ending, as a matter of fact. 1 hyperkinetic strike equals 1 prayer, but there's nothing stopping this 𝗂𝗬𝗃 from tearing you a structurally superfluous new behind at the end of all of this. So, yeah, no, kind of hard to see the outs here. We do see the 𝗧𝗃𝗃 actually does swap, which is surprising. But it is for the Platypus. I mean, I guess you don't need Platypus at this point. It's nice if it can get off the Aquatic Whirlwind. It is quite good. And it also resists the Toxic Plume, which I didn't necessarily expect to be coming, but it did. We see Slingshot for the first actual speed boost that isn't turbo onto this bad boy. And we see Tracy does give some pushback in the form of the Wastewater onto the Tyrannac, which has been delivering all through this match. This sets the stage for 𝗂𝗬𝗃 to come in and ruin the world. But at this point, with +4 speed, the Valorend will still be able to have a bit of a last word here. Which means that it's likely going to be down to the 𝗧𝗃𝗃 to finish this. It's a bit dicey on the final bits here, as at +4 speed and with enough stamina for one more move, this isn't entirely over. We do see that ET's playing it a bit safe here, keeping the 𝗂𝗄𝗃 back. The win condition needs to not just get whiffed while the opponent still has stamina here. And that's pretty reasonable, honestly. We have not seen the adrenaline shot get used on 𝗂𝗄𝗃 yet. I'm going to assume it's got adrenaline shot until proven otherwise. And we'll have to see. Yeah, I agree with you, Pixel, but it's likely to still hit something first, and 𝗧𝗵𝗺 still has HP. What I'm saying is, like, the combination of those is just awkward. Keeping the 𝗂𝗄𝗃 out is the way to, like, not die. So we do see the 𝗧𝗃 is the one that gets bopped here, as it's going to be going down to that. We see the 𝗹𝗶𝗃 pop up there, but I believe that actually is going to cause it to 𝗃𝗃x to... No! It's 1.2%! The Aquatic Whirlwind will be finishing it off, but that means that 𝗧𝗵𝗺 lives another day. Unfortunately, at this point, it's just too much, though, as one 𝗬𝗏𝗃𝗃 is going to take things down from here. As, yeah, with 74.7% on this 𝗂𝗄𝗃, we see a hasty lunge into 𝗬𝗏𝗃, actually not managing to finish things off here. But with the adrenaline shot alongside everything else, that does mean that at least you can guarantee that you're hitting into this 𝗧𝗵𝗺 before anything else happens, as the 𝗧𝗵𝗺 𝗬𝗃𝗍s to death. And with that, we have our second point for Shoot Coins. Congratulations to them, as this first part of our 2v2x2 is gonna finish as a result of that. Quick and dirty one, folks. Thank you for stopping by for this. Obviously, you know, the length of time that we see a Club Wars format match happen can vary, but, you know, it's just the nature of the game, folks. Congratulations and well played to Shoot Coins here, and let's hope that GrumDetected are able to bring it back in the next stage. Still well played on their side, too. Definitely some powerful players there regardless, and I have every confidence that they'll be able to bring it back in the next round, which hopefully I'll be able to see you guys there for. With that, though, it's time for me to start wrapping things up here.